Rah.
All right. Well, I cut that off early. All right, man. Made Show, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
Great guitar solo on that song. I was loving that guitar solo.
Dude, that is one. Again,
I
I
say
I
so
remember the
myself.
story. So Jimmy's first album that he shared with me, I uploaded every song onto my iPod. Everything was iPod worthy, and then Jimmy was working on this new album, which Riding High is on. And I remember when you were giving me like the beginnings of it, I was so. I think I've told this. I was so disappointed. I was like. Dude, you're
You're
kind of
funny.
going away from what you made that first album so good. What are you
Yeah.
doing? I didn't say it like that to you. I just was like, yeah, it was all right.
Yeah, you kind
But
of
I got to
did.
tell you,
Go ahead.
I did kind of. But
You
I got
did.
to tell you, it was
Yeah. Yeah.
fucking great song. Great song.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, the second album is edgier, and I that's what I tried to give you a heads up on. I'm like, it's definitely a little edgier, you know. But
Dude, I
look,
still,
good rock
to this
music is
day,
good
we put
rock
that
music.
video
So
together to that song to Becky Lynch
Becky,
video.
that would have been it. That should have been
Dude,
it.
that like should have been her theme song. It's like, why wouldn't you have switched from the nonsense to
I
that?
agree.
I tried to push that on the WWE like
Yeah. They
nonstop,
and they
man.
really should have gone for it because it not only would have been perfect for her, it would have actually uplifted her even more.
Oh,
That
I
song,
agree.
that
I
chorus, and
agree.
it's ironic too if that had happened because honestly, look, the lyrics were written by a man. I wrote those when I was like really standing up for myself. Ironically, during the ends of a marriage, so I was like, I'm a man. Fuck this shit.
Right,
I
right.
was like a reassertion to myself. Oddly enough, a lot of those lyrics that are in there for Riding High, but it would have been ironic that it goes to Becky.
Dude, I don't know.
It would have been great. I would have loved it. I think that would have
I
been
would I
great.
would have loved it too,
Yeah,
man.
it would have fit.
Listen,
Hilarious.
I wanted to share
Yeah.
this with you, man. So,
Oh
Monday
God.
was 9/11, right?
What?
And
Yeah.
for the longest time, ever since 9/11, I, I
Yeah.
manage, I manage groups of people, and no matter what company I was at, we would before work started on 9/11, we would have a moment of silence. I'd always go to HR, make sure we have a moment of silence for the people that we lost on 9/11. And then I'd gather my team together and I'd ask to say a little prayer, even if, you're not religious, whatever. This year I didn't do it because everybody's so woke, Jimmy. I don't know whose feelings I'm going to hurt by asking to say a prayer for people at 9/11. You're talking about, they may say, who knows what they would say, dude. All I'm trying to say to you, dude, is like, well, I'm like, I'm not doing it with these people because I have no idea what's going to be said to me. And I don't know if I'll be able to control myself because,
Right.
people seems like they could say what they feel like. Look, everybody can have feelings no matter what you feel, right? But some things are better off just not said, I think. And people just have no problem saying, you know, whatever. I mean, I know what I want to say on air right now, Jimmy, but I'm kind of trying to stop myself from saying it because it's just
All
like,
right.
people, there's a lot of hate for a lot of religions and a lot of ethnicities, and it's a mess. So anyway, the whole point, Jimmy, is I did not have a prayer. I did not have a moment of silence, and it was the first time I ever did that
How,
since I've been
how
around.
did that make you feel?
It bothered me. It bothered me,
Why this year that you decided that this is the year
because
enough enough?
as I get older and I'm in the workplace, I'm starting to realize that you can't have an opinion about anything without paying for it. You know,
Well, oddly
like
enough,
look, we never spoke about this on a show, but this is very important, right?
yeah.
Um, when the whole thing went down, it's been going on forever, but most recently with what happened between Palestine and Israel, right?
Hmm.
Um, the unfortunate, all the unfortunate things that have been happening.
Yeah.
Um, the hate that I witnessed, whether it be on TV or on the internet, and even in person towards Jews and Israel,
Hmm.
to me was disgraceful. And
Yeah.
why do I say that? I'm
It's
an American
true.
citizen. I, as a child, and all the way up to me at 57 years old, there's one thing, especially if you're religious, is that the Jews are the chosen people. Number one, religious wise. Number two, as a United States citizen, we're aligned with Israel as a brother and sister, or a brother and brother, or sister and sister, however you want to put that together. There's a loyalty between these two countries that have been going on for forever.
For decades.
And yeah,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
is the hate is screwed up. Jimmy, I'm gonna put you on screen. Start talking. I got to step away for 1 second. Okay,
All right. Fair enough.
take it over.
Okay. 9/11 for me was being in New York at the time. I was going to work. I was going down the highway playing the Black Album from Metallica. I wasn't thinking anything other than this is just another normal day of going to work. I did start to notice that people were in the opposite direction where normally there's traffic for me going into work. Everybody was on the other side going the other way. And I thought to myself, that's weird. But there was a really good song on, and I was having a cigarette. I was like, okay, that's weird. Maybe there was an accident. I guess I'll find out when I get up further. I don't know. I worked at the time, ironically, in the glass twin towers that are across from where the Islanders played all those years at the Nassau Coliseum. I worked in these two towers. I worked in one of the two towers, and we were the top floors. We had occupied the top floors. When I got to the parking lot again, I noticed all these people these are large buildings. They were coming out of the buildings, a lot of them. I'm like, what is going on? You think I would have stopped to turn the radio on, but like I said, Black Album's pretty good. So I mean, I get out of my car and I go inside, and hundreds of people are coming down the escalator. But standing at the top of the escalator was my old buddy McIntyre, who I worked with at the time, and he's looking at me like he's seen a ghost. And I'm like, I yelled to him. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? He's like, come upstairs. So we get in the elevator, and he's like, he really was not too wordy about everything. He was more like, you got to see for yourself. It was kind of like that. And we got up to the top, and you could see the city from where we worked clearly. And I said, "What the fuck?" And I didn't see it on television. I saw it with my own two eyes. I'm like, "Holy shit! Is that the World Trade Center?" Now I had always told McIntyre about my premonitions that we were going to get hit in New York City, and he turned to me and he goes, "Please tell me what this is about." And I turned to him and I said, "It's religion, plain and simple." And he always knew that I was someone who was very interested in religion. Now, I'm not interested in whether somebody believes it or not, because I know that many do. That has to be accepted by people who don't believe in any of it. I was fascinated by it because it explains all the nuances and differences as to why, for thousands of years, we have the arguments we have amongst backgrounds. It's all spelled out in the Bible, and then it's also spelled out in the Quran. The philosophical differences between these faiths is enormous. The reason why we are always been historically aligned with Israel is because America was founded by many Protestant Christians. And to be a Christian, you have to acknowledge Jesus's family tree. If you make war with Jews, you're making war with God's family if you believe scriptures. You can't mess with that. That's why the Christians and the Jews have had such a good relationship since Adolf Hitler had his little barbecue and the United Nations were formed, and Israel was formed to protect the Jewish people so this would never happen to them again. That's the philosophical difference is the Muslims don't believe any of these things. They don't believe Jesus was the son of God. They believe he was a prophet. Okay? They don't buy into the original Adam and Eve story. They have their own version. You have to read these books to know this, to understand this. There is differences that are huge. So to me, it wasn't that unbelievable to think that extremists got on a plane, hijacked it, and smacked it into buildings. I found that to be very believable, especially when you see a plane hit a building with your own two eyes. And then I get to read for the next 20 years there weren't planes. Saw it. It wasn't a hologram in the fucking sky. Where do we come up with half this shit? You know? The real basics are the argument about who is God. And that's where the most uncivilized things can happen. It's been proven over and over again for thousands of years. Not to get on a big soapbox here, but my God, history does repeat itself. And it's in the process of doing it again. That, like you said, the hatred towards Israel is getting worse and worse and worse. I used to ask my father, why do we always seem to have an X on our back being adopted and raised in a Jewish home? And my father turned to me and said, because we wrote the books. And I said, you're talking about the Bible, right? He goes, the New Testament outside of Luke, who was a Gentile physician, was written by Jews. He's like, the Bible is written by Jews. We put the X on our own back because the moment that you have a book like that with those kind of definitives, anyone who doesn't believe in that is going to do things to one form or another, and we've got extremists. That's the
Mm,
bottom line.
mm.
You know, it's really fucked up. Now, as far as talking about 9/11 to people, Mike, I'm currently a public server. I work in liquor warehouse, and I see tons and tons of people. I have not met a person yet who is not interested in hearing about 9/11 because the second I talk, they know I'm from New York. They see the Yankee hat, and they all ask me about 9/11. And I tell them, and I cannot remember having a bad conversation. And I've talked to dozens of people already about 9/11. There's nothing to be ashamed of, and there's nothing to hide. These are facts. Choose your side and go on. You know what I mean? I think you know where I stand on everything. That's been pretty clear.
It's funny in the chat room. There's like some really incredible stories out
I
there,
bet.
like what
I
people
bet.
went through. I
Yeah.
remember I was on my way to the doctor, and I got to the doctor's, and I was sitting in the waiting room, and the news was on,
Mm-hmm.
and you see this plane hit a building. And at the
Mm-hmm.
time, Jimmy, I'm like, I don't even know what the hell. Like, I'm thinking it's a
Oh,
TV show. I'm like, what
oh,
is this? You know
I
what I
knew what it
mean?
was. Yeah. Yeah.
And when I went in there, though, everybody's talking about it. I'm getting a checkup, and then I remember driving to work, right? Because at the point, I didn't know what was really happening there.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm driving to work, and the entire expressway's backed up. No one's
Right.
moving, and people are screaming, "They
Right.
did it!" And everybody's pissed, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, all right."
Yeah.
I must have missed something. I remember we all turned back, and then I see people in the chat room talking about the fear everybody had, right? Because here
Yeah.
we are. I think we're all thinking World War III, right? Here it
Mm-hmm.
comes. And we all know how it turned out and how many people lost their lives and everything that happened. And, it's a funny thing. It's not even funny. I think um, everybody knows on this show, both me and Jimmy, or Jimmy and I, are pretty big Vince McMahon fans. I Vince McMahon, to me, I'll say it again, is my idol, human idol, that is. Why? Because Vince McMahon is a great businessman. I love the way he operates. I love the way he manages. I love the persona that he brings out. I certainly don't love the accusations that are happening with him. But it's funny when people do something wrong, or if they did it wrong, right? We still haven't even gotten to that point. What are we, almost a year into this mess, and nothing has happened yet, right? We don't know what the truth is, right?
No.
Um,
No.
Again, and on the surface of it is a man and a woman mutually agreeing to sleep with each other, and one man paying said woman money to sleep with him, and then accusations that are still unproven at this point. But I was thinking back when Rob Van Dam was on the show and we asked him what it was like doing the 9/11 show. So I'll read something to you. One thing that Vince McMahon did was truly touch the hearts and souls of the public was 9/11. If we remember, everybody, as wrestling fans, when this happened, everything was just shut down. It was all news all the time. Nothing else was going on. But what was there? There was wrestling. And who brought us wrestling? Vince McMahon. Who brought people back into the public? Vince McMahon. Everybody was scared. Vince McMahon, right? It felt very out of character, but is true to his spirit as an American citizen. He shouted the battle cry that mixed his patriotic feeling and that of American dream itself. It was one of the best moments showcased in Vince McMahon's love for the country. Vince said, "One of our rights is the freedom of expression. And that's one of the things we're fighting for that night. To be able to express ourselves, to be able to say to our enemies, you did what you did, but we're going beyond that. Here's the spirit, here's the emotion, the fabric of America. We're going to show it to you. I wish everyone could experience that." Wow. What a most powerful yet humbling experiences in and out of the ring. Vince McMahon. Thoughts on that, Jimmy? Vincent Kennedy McMahon, 9/11.
Well, Vince was there was like three major things, I guess, sports connected, that I can remember about that time. Vince coming out and doing his speech was one of them, which was absolutely fantastic. It was the right things coming out of the right guy. Like, you felt better. The bottom line is that we were all crushed from 9/11, especially those who were really close to it. Just physically. It's even worse when you're like, it's right in your backyard. It was horrible for the whole country, and everybody's crushed. But Vince McMahon was able to make you feel better about things. Isn't that the point? The other two are very New York related. When George Bush fired that perfect strike, we've seen a lot of first pitches thrown, and a lot of them are really bad. But considering the circumstances that this is Yankee Stadium and we've been attacked, and here's the president of the United States to throw out a first pitch, and he fought. You remember that pitch? That
I do.
pitch was beautiful. That might have crossed up a big league hitter. That thing dropped right in. I'm like, wow, that was cool. That made me feel better. Yeah, little things do mean a lot, folks.
How
And then the
about how
third,
about Mike Piazza's home
thank
run?
you. That's what I'm getting to. The third one, yeah, you think I cared that a Met did it? I was like, oh my God, how great is this? The New York exploded that night. I got goosebumps. I'm covered in goosebumps. All right, that made us all feel better. That's the whole point of it. Vince McMahon. Once upon a time, Vince McMahon was a much greater man than what we're seeing today. I guess it's fair to say.
We
You know?
talked about Bret Hart on the last show, right? People get old,
Yeah.
right? Vince
Yeah.
McMahon has unfortunately gotten old. The thing
Yes.
again, we started off the conversation about how people, right, that I was unable to gather my team together on 9/11 because I know what kind of fabric is made out of people now. Think
Right.
about this. All the things that Vince McMahon has done for this community, this wrestling
Mm-hmm.
community, all
Mm-hmm.
of them sitting in this room and beyond,
Mm-hmm.
right? And all we're going to try to focus on is he's how evil he is on an unproven situation. Now, again, we just had Lee Cole on last week, right? You and I, fortunately, Jimmy, have never lost a brother or never lost a sister. So it is not in our realm to make a statement how Lee Cole should feel. Okay.
Right.
Never,
Yeah.
ever, ever. We've
Correct.
always stood by that. Okay. But we've also stood by realities of certain things. And one being, you have to prove it.
Yeah.
And when you prove it, okay, look, the list of things against Vince McMahon, if you were to do a documentary on Vince McMahon, on just the bad things he's been accused of, there's a pretty long list, right? From
Yeah.
the Snooker murder to
Yeah.
steroids
All the way
and
through.
the Rita Charlton situation, the Janelle Grant situation.
Right.
Ashley Massaro. Again, people, again, I keep saying this, is you really don't know what the truth is, because to me, it's very weird how things tend to come about. It's
Yeah.
like, the one thing is for sure, Gerard was on some podcast. Gerard, who's in the room right now. By the way, Gerard, good to see you, buddy.
What up? What up?
But I will look, dude. Everybody can listen to me here, right? I keep it real. I always have. I'm not in the mood to play games, right? I've told Gerard, you know what I mean? If your ultimate goal is to be on the Lee Cole show, figure it out. Go on the Lee Cole show, right?
Yeah.
Go on the Lee Cole show. It's like,
Yeah.
I just feel like people are situating themselves without really thinking about the realities of what's happening here. I'm really struggling, Jimmy, to explain it, but
Well,
it's
I'm
like,
struggling right now because I want to make an example, and I don't know where we're at with that example. Let's put it that way. I mean,
meaning what?
meaning that, like, people who have their agenda. I think what's bugging you here is the people's agenda. It's not always about facts. It's about the agenda. Like, I see many things about Hogan, and I've thought to myself, geez, if it wasn't for Hogan, what would you post about?
Mm,
Okay.
mm.
So, I mean, I'm just saying, when someone's got an agenda, they've got that agenda, whether it's right or wrong. You think they give a shit? They're trying to get themselves over. Period. That's what I think.
It's a good point, man. It's
You
hard for me to
know,
argue. It's very hard for me to argue that point.
it's not,
100%.
we're not about right and wrong anymore. Like the debate that we just saw. It's not about the points. It's about who you like. This is a popularity fucking contest. It never should be, but that's what it's being angled as. Oh, you're a bad guy. Oh, I'm good. Me good. You bad.
Right.
What the fuck is going on here?
I agree with you 100%.
What is going
I mean,
on
I got
here?
to tell you, it seems like the wrestling community itself is just becoming so upside down.
Mike, all it is you've used this word for years, and you're the one who turned me on to this whole reality of it. Wrestling is a microcosm of society.
Right.
So when you're microcosm being a key word, so when you see all this bitching and complaining and this melting down and this people having agendas, whether there's facts or not, I mean, after all, we know who killed Benoit's family, don't we? It was
Well, again,
in some
if you
ridiculous
listen
name
to
here.
the
You know,
internet wrestling community out there, there's got to be like one. It's scarily, Jimmy. It's very scary to a point that I know we've discussed this before, but if 10 people comment, at least one defends Benoit. That
right,
ratio in itself is too big to me.
right,
It's like
right,
1 out of 10. Are you out of
right.
your fucking
Yeah, but
minds right now?
we're also twisting people's words terribly nowadays. Okay, like recently, maybe you're aware of it. Something came up where Hogan was being interviewed, and Hogan said what I think is a fact. He brought up that they forgave Chris Benoit. These fans will forgive anything. And he was attacked for that, like comparing his racially insensitive stuff. He wasn't comparing, he was stating a fact. He was stating what you just stated, that there's a portion of the wrestling community that forgave Chris Benoit.
But but
What the fuck? He's playing.
dropping the N word is a worse infraction than murdering your wife and kid.
And he wasn't even comparing the two, but that's what they were making it out
But you
like.
know what? Even if he was comparing the two,
I know.
he's right.
Well,
He's
never
right.
mind that part. We can't even get to the first, more important basic of it. We can't even point out that you're being ridiculous and twisting the words.
No, you
Let's
can't.
get to your point.
Because yeah, if you say the wrong thing
Me?
or whatever else it is, it's like
No,
it's insanity, man.
It's silly at this point. Yet somehow a lot of bad ones get away with it forever.
And then again, though,
I can't figure
our
it out.
show, Jimmy, is based on a lot of stuff where we bring up stuff that has been hidden for a long time. I mean, let's not forget this Ring Boy shit was done and buried until we started bringing it up on our show.
Nobody was talking.
Right? No one was paying
it.
attention to that shit.
No, nobody
right?
was. We've seen
it
this
goes on
happen
and on and on. So again, we're based on that type of stuff. But again, we like to hear people speak. But my whole point is, it's like for all the good shit Vince McMahon has done, we don't even have anything proven that he's done anything wrong. Just hearsay. And like here's an interesting thing to you, right? It's John Cena, The Rock, Undertaker, right? 3 major stars, very famous.
Yeah.
They got real, and we're going to talk about this later on, but they got really nothing to say. But everybody instantly says, they stand by Vince, right?
Right.
Everybody instantly says, oh, well, they're on the payroll. Like, why is that like the out? Why is that the out? Or how about they
Because
know
it's
the
easy.
man?
Because it's easy for them to take that out. Oh, he must be on the pay. What? That's the first time you ever heard that in other situations? You know, I laugh at people who think that George Steinbrenner had nothing to do with the Yankees while he was suspended. I think that's hilarious.
That is hilarious.
I find that hilarious. Well, it was
it's
Gene
hilarious.
Michael. I mean, can you hear Evan right now
Look,
in Queens? It was
you know
Gene
what? I
Michael
gave up.
all along.
I gave up kayfabe when Bobby Valentine came back in the dugout with a mustache. I was like, come on, man.
That's pretty funny, though. That was pretty funny.
But think about it, dude. It's like nothing matters. Nothing matters. There's no rules anymore.
Right.
You know, you got, again, I'm not going to bring up Bully Rick, so I'm going to talk about it, but this guy, again, I can't, we posted something on our page about the problems we had with the guy. The guy's, how does someone think they're that special, dude? Like,
I don't know.
If you cured cancer or you're the president of the United States, yeah, you're special.
Yeah.
You're a fucking wrestler, bro.
Right.
Get real. Get real.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Amen.
Sorry.
Yeah,
sorry about that.
Not really sorry.
All right, question, bro.
Yeah.
White 6 year. What's going on with Alexa Bliss? Are they done with her?
That's a great question. I don't feel like she would fit. Isn't that weird?
It is weird.
I don't feel like she would fit. You know what's weirder? I had a really weird thought the other night. Where is Eric Young? Because Eric Young is the kind of weirdo that could join.
Wait a minute. That's what came through your head? Where is Eric Young?
When I was thinking about this Alexa Bliss thing, I was like, it doesn't even make sense. What would she do? I mean, is she coming in? What is she going to be? What's her character? What is it? What she was before? That was with Bray. I mean, what's she going to do? I don't know. I have no idea. But then I saw Eric Young, and I thought to myself, wasn't he the head of Sanity? Remember when Sanity was over for like 6 months?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and I thought to myself, now he would make a great unsettled sixth member of the Wyatt Six. So logically, to me, Eric Young makes more sense than Alexa Bliss. I don't know what they would plan to do with Alexa Bliss. She would instantly. How does she? Listen. She's a bigger star than anyone in that faction, Bo Dallas included. So if she comes in, what's her role? To be subservient to Bo?
Hey, hey, Jimmy. You know what? B40 brings up a good point. Maybe we should start doing that. Bully Ray, angry, never married, 53 years old, makes you go, Angry, 53, never married.
Wait a minute. Mike, I think I figured out who that guy is wanting to pinch your boobs every morning on Facebook.
It could be Bully Ray.
Wow.
Monte, maybe Bully Ray wants to be
Monte.
Billy Ray.
Monte, get the lubricant.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Oh, man. Wait a minute. Whoa, Velvet Sky did leave him. Maybe she wasn't getting any, Jimmy. She wasn't getting any.
I never understood that pairing anyway. I'm not stopping to watch that on Pornhub.
You know what? Let me ask you this. Do you think that Velvet Sky was like a beard? Was his beard, maybe?
Was his what?
His beard. Meaning that, his disguise. Hey, I'm heterosexual.
Like Priscilla Presley?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Wow, you really are like wondering about this a lot, I see. Okay.
I'm kind of in this with B40. I'm kind of
thinking, I'd rather have that scenario than him wanting to get the lubricant with you.
Get the lubricant. Oh, this clip will be great in a couple of days.
Oh yeah. You think we got called tools before? We're the whole tool shed now. Oh well.
No wonder they don't shoot out of busted open studios anymore. They got to keep them far away. He's probably playing
LaGreca's
under the table.
LaGreca behind the scenes is like, come on, Bully. I want to have those two on. They're funny. No, I hate them. Oh my God. Too much.
All right, back to Alexa, Eric Young. I haven't thought about Eric Young ever, but
right. Nor should you.
Know.
But I was thinking, who would fit the faction? His weirdness would, oddly enough. But if Alexa comes back, she's going to have to somehow keep her star where it is, her level in the company somehow. I don't know how you do that with them. Does she elevate them? Do they go into the main event picture because she's with them? How would we do that? You know, I'm sure these things are being discussed behind the scenes. I would prefer to see Alexa there yesterday, but I don't know what she's going to do with them. And what does that do to Howdy? Howdy is clearly trying to establish. They're trying to establish that character like the way they did for
Listen,
Bray.
Wyatt
I don't see
Wyatt
it.
Wyatt 6 is
I don't see it.
sooner or later it's over already.
Yeah, you're going went. That's what you're
Yeah,
going.
it's kind of annoying. So Pac and Moxley this week on AEW. Look, I'm watching a lot of AEW lately, dude.
I see that.
They made statements. They opened up the ring saying that AEW is out of control and has no leadership.
Uh-oh.
Right? Oh, we think, dude.
Here comes the money.
Tell me, man. Talk to me, baby.
Here comes the money.
Testify, please.
Well, first of all, that would make me want to pay attention for a little while.
Oh,
how about
absolutely,
that?
Absolutely.
Let's start with that right away. That would be unbelievable, tell you the truth, if Shane came in and took over that place.
Dude, I would watch every week. I'm sorry, man.
That is unbelievable. Could you imagine Jericho like crossing in the locker room with him the first, like, who? What the? Like it would be unbelievable. Like he hands him a list. He'd be like, tell Jericho you just made the list and walk away. And Jericho would be like, what the fuck? What list? What's going on?
Dude, wait a
here?
minute. I got to say something. I was watching when we were watching the debate on Tuesday. I was like, someone just should have really went with Dwayne Johnson as their presidential candidate because he just would have won just on the debate because he would have opened up with, what's your name? And she'd be like, I'm Kamala. It doesn't matter.
Right.
What's your name? And it would have been over. Like,
who
when
in the
you
blue
won.
hell are you? I already told you my name. It doesn't matter what your name is, jabroni. Check your ass directly into the SmackDown hotel. Could you imagine?
Instantaneous presidential winner.
Absolutely. You know what else he would do? One of the greatest lines he ever did was when he said to the Hurricane, when he found him in his locker, like they're halfway through the debate, and he'd be like, how long have you been standing there? Like one of those, like, how long were you sitting in my locker?
Dude, what if he would have serenaded Kamala? You look terrible.
You're dressed like a hooker.
Oh my God.
Not the expensive kind. Oh, that was the greatest line in that whole version.
Oh my God.
That was fantastic.
All right, back to Shane. I rolled you off the tracks. Back to Shane.
Do you think? You got The Rock playing guitar to Kamala Harris at the debate. Yeah, let's get back on track. Oh my God.
Is Shane going to be the head of AEW?
Jeez. You know what? In the world we live in, it's possible, but I really don't know why that would happen. I don't know why Shane would do it. Shane must really hate his father and his brother-in-law and must be at some impasse of some kind with Stephanie. If he's going to go over there and do that for real, for actually join that company and help them, wow. I've heard of family feuds, but this is...
Hey, look, Vince Russo, who we're going to have on the show very shortly, makes a statement that he feels that behind the scenes, Vince and Shane are angry at Triple H and Stephanie, and they're going to be in cahoots. Obviously, Vince will be behind the scenes because of what's going on with his allegations.
Well, Vince doesn't do anything small, so even if it's behind the scenes, if you see Shane and Vince is involved, Vince is purchasing that company.
How awesome would that be?
That would be unbelievable, but what do we do then? Here's a bigger conundrum. What do you do then when we've always been WWE fans? Do you pull your Yankee jersey off and grab a Red Sox? I won't.
Usually I don't
the Red
follow.
Sox are obviously on a higher level.
Usually I don't follow players to a team.
Yeah,
but I could follow that player.
You, Michael Jordan, 1996 New York native trader. How could you? And you know what's funny? You remember those days, don't you? All of a sudden, people living in New York are wearing Bulls jerseys. I'm like, where the hell did you start your Bulls fandom?
Yeah.
Who's Bob Love? I used to ask them questions like that. Who's Artis Gilmore? You fucking fraud. Meanwhile, I'm rooting for Mason and Oakley, and Starks is 2 for 18. And I guess I'm not.
Our history with sports is really bad.
No, it's not. You stop that,
Jimmy. At the Premium Live event in Germany, has been declared as the highest grossing arena event in WWE history ever.
Mazel tov.
So that's arena.
Congratulations.
Along with other successes, international events like Clash of the Castle and Backlash in Puerto Rico have proven that the WWE is doing better than ever. However, despite the moving forward into the Triple H era, which you just mentioned,
Yeah.
the shadow of Vince McMahon, the post-show press conference at Bash of Berlin, Rhodes, that would be Cody Rhodes, answered questions about his future opponents performing in Europe and his current title reign.
All right.
Soon the tone shifted when the reporter asked about the upcoming Netflix docuseries about Vince McMahon and his professional wrestling career, including his sexual misconduct and sexual trafficking allegations from former WWE employee Janelle Grant. More specifically, the reporter wanted to know why the locker room has been so silent about the allegations. I'm going to read you his response, and I'm going to ask you to give me your ideas. In the terms of, I am going to watch it, not to sound cheeky by any means, I'm deep into Game of Thrones rewatch. That is a hell of a commitment, Rhodes said. I think there's a bit of misinformation in terms of WWE has no involvement into the documentary. As far as I know, I would imagine I would get around to seeing it.
Okay.
Let me see if I've got anything else. That's it. So what do you got? Did I miss anything here?
Well, it continues in terms of the more serious
Thank you.
the meat of your question, as Rhodes continued to address the reporters, the locker room being quiet or silent. I don't think that that's a matter of belief versus non-belief. I think, strictly speaking, we want to be doing what we're doing out there. The focus and attention that it takes to have a great story and have a great match and do that every single night has left most of us to where we're finding the information out there just as you are. I think that Cody is not preoccupied.
Well, before you go to that, I got to ask you.
Yeah.
At this point in these scrums, is there room for professional wrestling to be asking those type of questions? At the scrums. I'm saying we're in an interview. You're interviewing someone. That's a little bit different, in my opinion. You're at a pro wrestling event and a scrum. Is that the place for it?
No different. It's no different than other professional sports. They ask them all sorts of kinds of shit that pisses them off. That's the risk you run when you're having a post-whatever press conference. That happens all the time, whether it's in football. How many times have you seen a coach walk out on an interview because the line of questioning is something he doesn't want to talk about? So there is to it. You know, it's inevitable that a reporter's going to ask Cody about Vince McMahon with the documentary coming out. It's inevitable. Cody's answer was perfect. He gave a professional answer. Is that how he really feels? Most of it probably true. How he really feels, he's not going to say. What makes you think he's going to say exactly how he really truly feels? Especially if it's negative towards Vince. He's not going to do it. All right? He's currently working for the damn company, and even though Vince is not there, Triple H is. There's a business understanding here. He handled that question perfectly. And I actually do buy into he's working every night. He's not, or preparing to work. He's not thinking about shit like that. He can't. And I wouldn't either. To be very honest, I wouldn't either. I have a job to do. I'm in the spot of my life at the top of the card. I'm the world fucking champion. I am not going to fucking risk my shit.
Well, dude, to be honest with you, I think it's
like real opinion on Vince.
It's like any other job, man. When people leave, like you're bummed out for a minute or you're bummed out for a while, and then life goes on. Vince McMahon is no different than anybody else. It's like out of sight, out of mind. You know, very rarely do you see an employee have a meltdown because maybe a manager left or something. I can't survive without them. You know what I mean?
Mike, I'm telling you right now, I'm telling you right now, if I'm Vince McMahon, I'm fucking buying AEW. I am. Because I got railroaded, okay? Like you said, until things come out that he really did something definitively and he's guilty in a court of law, they forced him to go sit at home with his 9 cats. You know how Vince lived his life for decades. If I'm Vince McMahon, I'd buy AEW right now and ram it up their poop chute because he'll find a way to do it. Then we will have a true Monday Night War. This imaginary Monday Night War that supposedly occurred over the last 5 years is nothing like a real Monday Night War. And if Vince McMahon bought AEW, now we could talk war. You understand what I'm getting at? Because if I'm Vince McMahon, that's what I'm doing. If I
Well,
if I feel I've been wronged and I'm forced to the sidelines, and now everyone in my family hates me except for my son, which is so strange and ironic that it would wind up being them two. But you know what? I always felt that it should have been Shane. You and I have talked about this 1,000 times, and I'm still on record. As much as I like Triple H and like what he's doing, and I know he knows the game and he knows wrestling and everything, Shane McMahon should have been the fucking heir apparent. I mean, I hate to get old school here, but I always felt that Shane McMahon, it was his company just the way it should have been. Vince, was when Vince Jr. went through Vince Sr., Shane was next in line. I would have felt so slighted. No wonder Shane went away for years. Be real, people. This is a family. These are human beings. Shane had to be
well,
crushed
the
as
one
he
thing I
watched
the
Stephanie
one
go to
thing I
rise to
always
power.
remember,
Stephanie was
Jimmy.
great, though. So
The
there's
one
that.
thing I always remember, Jimmy, is when I was at Hulk Hogan with friends. They had it was way back. They had
Yeah.
Valentine, Hogan, Bischoff, and I think one of the questions were asked, like, if you could do it over after with WCW, who would have you guys gotten to win the war?
Yeah.
And every one of them said Vince McMahon. I mean,
Right.
that's listen. I
Right.
think Fox said if Vince McMahon. By the way, Don Don Scoffich, I hope I'm saying it right. He's
Okay.
saying Vince will not buy AEW. I would say more than likely he's
Oh,
right.
I agree. More than likely not. But if I was Vince, and if I'm feeling isolated and wrongfully prosecuted, and I'm bored out of my mind with my 9 cats, I could see Vince doing something like that. I could.
But I will say this though, Jimmy. If he did buy it, all of a sudden AEW becomes a major player. And
Yeah,
it's
they
not
do.
like a major player for a couple of weeks, like those Tony Khan
Instantly.
surprise. It's
No,
it's
instantly.
talking long term. It's
Yes.
on. It's
Yes.
now on.
Oh,
I'm
it
going
will
to
be
do
on.
what I've always done, and I'm
Right.
going to defeat TKO and the
Right.
WWE.
Right. Well, and on top of it, if he has Shane on board and Shane buys into and finally does become what, his father, the bullet points that made his father who he was. Oh, Jesus God. This could go on for years because Shane, I would like to think, has a good 30 years left in his life at least. So who knows? Who knows?
We
You know?
both agree that Cody Rhodes did a fantastic job diverting the question.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it led to the question, and this is basically the theme of the show tonight.
All right.
Is he truly the leader of the locker room? So I said, you know what? There's only one other guy you could compare him to, right? And that would be obviously our tribal chief, Roman Reigns.
All right.
I'm going to read a few things, and at the end, we're going to say, let's decide who really is the real role model for these wrestlers. Because let's get straight, dude. Through every generation, has always been a leader of the locker room.
Right.
The Clique ran the WWE for a very long time. Whether people know, were they leaders? No, but they ran it. Undertaker was always the leader. Hogan was always the leader. Most recently, we had Enzo on. We all know that Roman was the leader. Enzo denies it, but supposedly Roman actually kicked them off the bus, right?
Right.
He claims it was another wrestler. I'm not so sure. Wait a minute, dude. Okay, we're going to stop this for 1 second because here is something, and I want you to really weigh in on this one because this is. Oh, I got the wrong thing. Sorry. Stone Cold Steve RJ says Stone Cold Steve Austin was a leader. I'm not so sure, RJ, to be honest with you. Monte and the Pharaoh, AEW needs a guy like Dutch Mantel booking for him. I'm leaving this one up to you, Jimmy.
Well, I'm not so sure that Dutch Mantel is the best option. Dutch Mantel has old school sensibility, so it wouldn't be like. I think he might be able to. Honestly, I think he might be able to tweak AEW for the better. Some of the ridiculous stuff, but has he ever proven long term that he could be the answer?
All right, come on, wait a minute. All right, I'm sorry.
actually trying to answer it seriously. I mean,
I know you are, and I'm going to be serious here. Let's be legitimate. Yeah. Dutch Mantel, has found his niche. Okay, he's YouTube. A good podcaster.
Right.
He was not a good wrestler. I don't give a shit. People are like, oh yeah, he was good. He drew money. He didn't draw shit. He wasn't a good booker. Right. He wasn't.
Right.
I mean, look, okay, the guy, listen, until he was on WSI, No one
Right.
even remembered who
Listen,
Dutch Mantel was.
all it does is hammer home the fact that I'm actually considering Dutch Mantel because I am not a fan of their writing or their character development or their ability to make a new star. I'm not. I don't believe in them. I think that they're terrible half the time. You know, the very things that they scream about WWE is so hypocritical to me because half the program is lacking, big time. You know, it's not like when WWE does a premium live event and from match 1 through 5 or whatever, because nowadays it seems to be 5 matches, they're all good. And they're all good established wrestlers. We're not sending out some whoever
No,
to
no.
flip around to do cartwheels for 15
You
minutes in the
you hit it
opening
on the
match.
head. Dutch Mantel is too old school. He doesn't get. He's out of touch.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
I mean, would
It's
it be
not his
my
thing.
move? It wouldn't be my move. I don't know who I would be looking for to improve that product, but Dutch Mantel would not make my top 10. How about that? You know, but considering it's AEW, his old school thing might fit in more often than not, because they like to do old school stuff. So it might work somewhat, but I don't know. I don't see him making any new stars. What did he ever prove
Well,
he could anyway?
listen, AEW
Never
isn't
proven
working,
that.
dude. It's not working. It's
Right.
not working. If anyone thinks it's working, it's not. If Tony Khan wasn't a billionaire, this would have been a done deal already. It would have been
I
over.
agree. No,
Okay.
I agree.
Again, anything short of Vince McMahon buying that company, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And
Right.
you know, and it could be a dream, but if he did, game on. That's all I'm going to say.
Absolutely game on, and I've already said it 1,000 times. AEW is a wealthier version of TNA because the guy's got more money, but it doesn't feel any different to me than TNA at the top of their game on Spike TV. You know, it doesn't feel like anything different to me. I don't,
Well, let me
you
ask you this
know,
question: If Vince McMahon did buy AEW, let's just play
right?
this game. You know how people have loyalty. Do you think again? There's contracts involved, but do you think? I don't know how Roman Reigns felt about Vince. I kind of get the feeling Roman was not a Vince guy,
I have
even
no
though
idea.
Vince was a Roman guy. Like Vince loved Roman. I
I,
kind of felt like he wasn't a Vince guy. I don't know why.
I
Like
don't see how Roman Reigns would not be a Vince guy.
I
I don't
don't
see that.
either, but it's like I've heard comments from him,
I don't
like
see that.
certain things. I don't
Right.
know. I'm not sure.
Vince would have to do a lot of things right to truly topple WWE. Do you think he's still capable of that?
No, you can't. No, you can't
I'm
topple
gonna
it.
go with no. But do
But
I think that he'll be able to at least get them up to WCW level, like where it was somewhat
here's
competitive?
my.
Yeah, I think he could pull that off.
He could take market share from them,
Right.
and he could take some of their bigger talent. Like I wouldn't be
He could.
surprised if well, I guess it's a little. You know what, dude? Maybe it's just too late. I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if like a John Cena would go over there.
No, never. I don't think John would, no matter what. It wouldn't make any sense for John. Uh, However, maybe some of the up and comers that Vince believed in would come. See, what Vince would have to do would be very hard because Vince would have to do what he did when his back was up against the wall during the Attitude Era, when he was about to create it. He would actually have to take guys that are there and make them something. Can he still do that? I think some of him can, but I don't know if he would be able to do it with the strokes of genius and the roster that he had to do it back in the Attitude Era. It would be so much work, and I don't think he's got enough left in his gas tank, man. He
Yeah.
would need to, if him and Shane are on the same page, like we think they may be, he would need to spill every last bit of knowledge into a son who is now more than ever open to becoming like his dad, because obviously at some point years ago, Vince looked at Stephanie and said, she's the one. So if the son receives the father's information and the father is willing to bleed into him every last secret and every last trick and finally mold his son, then it's possible that Shane long term could do something. But it's going to take time.
By the way, Eric Healy
Crazy.
saying that Vince has already bought AEW, won't be revealed till later this year.
Wouldn't be surprised. I don't know.
By the way, Phil says he met Dutch Mantel and he was a nice guy.
That's great, Phil. What do we do with that?
I don't know. Maybe Phil was combing his back
I'm just fucking around. I'm like, oh, Dutch is a nice guy. Looks like Yosemite Sam.
Dutch, can I comb your back, please? Yeah, sure. Come here, kid.
Wait a minute. You have Phil combing Dutch Mantel's back?
Yeah, at the wrestling event.
Phil would not do that. Would you, Phil?
While Gerard is licking Phil's toes.
Oh, this is just wrong. Can I play with your pinky toe? It's cute. This
I
is
learned from
awful.
the best.
How did we wind up here? What the hello? McFly?
All right.
What?
Leadership. Roman Reigns has established himself as a top figure in the WWE, particularly through his work with the Bloodline story. His leadership style is more aligned with a traditional top of the card dominance where the status of the tribal chief isn't just a character, but it's also an indication of his influence backstage. Um, Dude, I'm sorry. Hold on a second. Just trying to find my cursor here. Known for carrying himself with authority and professionalism, Roman has become the face of the WWE as such and has a direct setting the tone and culture of the locker room. Now, see if you agree with this. His experience, Roman has spent the majority of his career in the WWE, rising through the ranks and learning from veterans like John Cena, The Undertaker, and Triple H. This has allowed him not only to take charge, but to do so with the understanding that he takes the lead in the locker room over the long term. Jimmy,
Suffering, succotash. Uh
you like this little write up, don't you?
yeah, yeah. I'm sure he is a leader in the locker room. To what degree I can't say I know. He's definitely a company guy. He fits the Cena template, right? I mean, he's basically born and bred. He's Aaron Judge. He's come up through the system, and he's at the top of the system. So I think he would definitely command respect. Yeah, that's an A+ on the experience. As if you're coming to the company and you need to see who the role model is, I would think at this point it's Roman Reigns. I would think so. So I got to agree that when he walks in the room definitely changes to whatever his temperature is saying. I would think.
I'm going to agree with you. He has that look about him that he
Yeah,
does dictate,
yeah.
and a little like Cody to me. It's funny. Their characters are almost what they seem like that what they would be in the locker room. Cody's like everybody's friend, where Roman is like all business.
Mm-hmm.
And once in a while when he breaks like into a joke, people are shocked. Whoa, look at that. He's got a sense of humor.
Right,
But like,
right.
whoa, it's Roman type of
You
thing. You know
know,
what I mean?
it depends. I don't know how deep we're going to get into this thing here, but it really depends to me what you're going to them for. Because leaders, you usually go if you're an up and comer, or even if you've been around a long time and want to learn something. It depends on what you're going to ask them. Now, between Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, like if I had a company question, something that's directly involved to the company and how they've done things over the years and stuff, I'd go to Roman. If I want to know about more what's out there and how did you get back here and how is it out there compared to in here and that sort of thing, I would probably want to talk to Cody. Cody has been a lot more road weathered. I think that if you're looking to drain information, if it's from a company exclusive, Roman's the guy you would want to ask questions to. But if it's wrestling exclusive, where meaning wherever you go around the world and different promoters and what's the deal here and what's the deal there and how should I wrestle in this town? Do they prefer this sort of style or blah blah blah? Cody's the guy you're going to want to talk to.
No,
So
it's funny.
if you
People
understand
don't
what I'm getting
really.
at,
Yeah, I do. It's a great commentary, but okay. So everybody knows when the Miz came in, he was picked on, and at one
yeah,
point, a wrestler kicked him out and made him dress it out in the hallway,
yeah,
in the
yeah,
bathroom, in the
yeah. He went
closet.
through all the hazing,
And
right?
everybody who tries to act like they don't know that particular wrestler was our friend Chris Benoit. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
6 months into it, the Undertaker gets the Miz and says, "Get your shit. You're coming back in the locker room." I don't see Cody doing that. I could
No,
see Roman doing that though.
I could see Roman doing it, but you know what though? The company has changed so much that you really can't have too many guys like that anyway.
That's going back to the beginning of the show. The culture has changed.
Right.
Is there room for a Roman Reigns leadership anymore?
Yes, there is, because there's no room for Renzo Amore. How's that sound?
It's great comment, Jimmy, yet again. Legacy, a part of the legendary Anawahe family,
Mm-hmm.
Roman carries a strong sense of tradition and respect for the business. Comes through his leadership. He's known for holding others accountable and being the stabilizing force for younger talent looking for guidance.
Good. You know what's weird? You know, it's funny when you said before you can't put your finger on it, but you sometimes think that Roman wasn't a Vince guy. I can't put my finger on it, but I don't believe that Roman is the guy that goes out of his way to show somebody else the tricks to this trade. I believe that there are other guys, and this is another difference too between when John Cena was in the locker room and the Undertaker was in the locker room compared to today. There are several Thurman Munsons you can go to, captains, Derek Jeters, whatever you want to call them, and they wear different faces and they've acted and behaved differently from each other over the years. For example, not just Roman and Cody are people that you can go to in that locker room. Randy Orton is absolutely captain material. You can definitely go to a Randy Orton if you want to learn something about this business. And even you will admit now, because he is definitely a changed man. If I'm a younger guy, I would love to talk to CM Punk. So there are certain guys in that locker room that are definitely still leaders. Roman is the leader.
Can I
I
can
would
I
still
can
think at
I
the end
ask
of
you
the day,
this?
go
I
ahead.
almost feel like Roman is very unapproachable. I
Ro-
don't know why. I feel like Roman.
Ro-
So okay,
Listen,
I just got to use a couple of examples.
I already know
When
what you're
Roman
getting at.
does,
Yeah,
but when Roman does his documentary
yeah.
interviews,
Hmm.
he's never out of character,
No,
right? Um, I think Roman now at this point in his life, and I feel like this is I agree with you. I almost feel like you can't go to him for help. He'll
right,
keep you straight if you're doing
right,
something wrong, but
right,
don't go for don't go for him
right.
for advice because he's not there for you. Again,
Well,
we're
it's the
not on
old,
the inside, Bully Ray. We're just speculating, buddy.
right, and that's what we're doing, and that's fine. What I can't give Roman a higher compliment than this, and you'll know what I mean when I compare him to this person. Thurman Munson was the captain of the Yankees for a decade and part of the championships, an integral part of it. Thurman Munson was never really approached in general by the undercardsmen. Okay, they would go like Brian Doyle would talk to Willie Randolph, or Roy White would, so you would hang out with Paul Blair. They weren't going to Munson because Munson was a lot like Reigns, unapproachable in a lot of ways. He wasn't like running around the field and going, "Hey, do this," or "Hey, you need help today," or whatever. Munson was a surly guy. He was always in character. When you interviewed him after a game, it's just like you said, Mike, he still had that damn game face on. He was so standoffish. So unless you were Munson's best friend, in other words, Lou Pinella or perhaps Greg Nettles, you didn't just walk up to Thurman Munson.
Well, but I think there's something about
You
that. You have
know?
to keep an awe of about
Right,
your
right,
character. Even as a baseball player, yes, you're a character, right? You're Thurman Munson. It's like you want to keep people at a safe distance that they don't feel like you're
right.
just the regular guy.
Right, right. I mean, Munson was a very matter of fact guy. When Reggie made that quote, "I'm the straw that stirs the drink," they tried to tell Munson, the other teammates, to cool down the heat. Well, maybe he was misspoken or misprinted. And Thurman turned and said for 5,000 words. The article was 5,000 words. He was just like, what do you mean?
Right.
Munson was very, very unapproachable. He could be very unapproachable, but when the game came, he had everybody's back 10,000%. You
Right.
know, he was, and he played that way, and they all loved him for it, and they all drew from his energy as a leader. And that's what Roman is. He's silent but deadly. He's one of them.
All right, so Cody Rhodes, the people's leader, Cody Rhodes, on the other hand, has a leadership style that is rooted from his passion for the business, creativity, and personal journey through various promotions, including the WWE, AEW, and then back again. Cody
Right,
has been credited with not only elevating talent, but helping build AEW's foundation.
right.
He's an innovator and a builder. Cody was instrumental in the creation of AEW, a role that required him to lead in different ways than Roman Reigns. He
Oh, yeah.
wasn't just a top talent, but he was a key figure in managing and organizing the company from the ground up. His leadership was collaborative, often bringing wrestlers together and helping them find their own creative direction.
Yeah.
Thoughts, Jimmy?
Listen, if this is, and this may bother you, but to me, this is absolute facts and truth. When it comes to the wrestling brain of Cody Rhodes and the wrestling brain of Roman Reigns, this is no contest. Cody Rhodes is the son of a genius. Cody Rhodes became a genius himself in many ways. He understands how to create something from scratch because without Cody Rhodes, there is no AEW. Period. This headache never would have existed. One of the big reasons why I didn't want Vince to let Cody Rhodes go. I was like, don't let him go. Don't let him go. He is going to figure something out because he's like his dad. His dad was also very, very, very smart with creativity. Knew how to book cards, knew how to run towns, knew how to do things. All right. And Cody knows how to do those things too. That gets back to, like I said, if there's something I want to learn in this business overall, not strictly company, then I'm running to Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes knows a lot about a lot. He's a great leader. He has carried himself like a Bob Backlund. I've said it 1,000 times. He's a perfect face. Am I bored to death with his program? Yeah, I am, because I don't feel like he's getting legitimate contenders. I already can tell he's going to beat
Listen,
everybody.
Cody,
But
Cody's approachable. He's
yeah,
everybody's friend.
yes,
And again, when
for the
you're
most part, I'm
everybody's
sure.
friend, you're Tony Khan. So again, we're trying to compare the two as a leader,
Right, but
and you got
Tony Khan doesn't have brains. Cody does. That's why he's currently WWE undisputed champion.
fair
Cody
enough
Rhodes, he has brains. He knows what he's doing.
mentorship. Cody's known for mentoring young talent and being more
Hmm.
hands-on when it comes to helping others develop. His
Yeah,
accessibility to other wrestlers and his willingness to share his knowledge, particularly when it comes to navigating life, both inside and outside of WWE, he's made him a beloved figure of the locker room.
yeah, yeah. That all sounds right to me. I have no problem with any of that. I'm
In-
sure that he is beloved in that locker room. He doesn't go out of his way to make enemies, and he does his
Inclusive
job.
inclusivity and connection. Cody's leadership style has been seen as more approachable, inclusive. He's more awkwardly emotional and connects with wrestling audiences and his peers through personal stories and experiences, positioning himself as a leader who understands the struggles and wrestlers in a walk of life. I want to just bring that up.
Yeah.
So we know the struggles that Dusty Rhodes went through towards the end of his career before the WWE picked him up to help, train and
Right.
all that good stuff.
Yeah. Sure.
And Cody tells a story how, they were broke and blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm. They were.
You
Yeah.
got to know that Roman was probably in that same situation, right? Most of these wrestlers at some point were, and
Yeah.
especially with such large families. But you never really, I think I've heard Roman once say like he grew up in a small house with a big family and there
Mm-hmm.
wasn't plenty of room to sleep and blah, blah, blah. But,
Right.
but Roman almost keeps that off the side. He doesn't, where Cody holds as a badge of honor, Roman holds it as a
Cody
weakness.
Cody had to embrace it because let's be honest here. As famous as Roman's father is, he is not Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes was Cody's father. Dusty Rhodes is one of the top 5 all-time biggest draws in the NWA history. Period. Dusty Rhodes was the shit. Okay, there's no escaping the legacy of Dusty Rhodes. Cody Rhodes has been brilliant in finding ways to keep the legacy but work around it. I'm not the American dream. I'm the American nightmare. He is very, very smart. Dusty would be so proud of him. Oh my God, how he has found a way to be discharged from the WWE. Terrible booking. Knows he's worth more, knows he can do more, and remade himself to this level. Fucking genius. An absolute genius. Okay. One way or the other. You don't have to be a fan of his. And you know, I'm not particularly a fan of Cody Rhodes. I'm not. I was thrilled when he came home for WWE reasons. That's the Yankees to me. I was thrilled that he came back. I was thrilled when Punk tore off the Met uniform in AEW and came back and put on the pinstripes. That's how I look at my wrestling.
Hey,
You
by
know?
the by the way,
Yeah,
Pharaoh,
yeah.
Chris Williams, a guy watching the show, from what I understand, B40 says that his mom was in here promoting her OnlyFans with her floppy breasts.
What? You interrupt the program to tell me somebody's on our chat putting OnlyFans sites and her breasts are floppy?
No, the guy's mother, not him.
That's worse than the. Oh my God. Maybe she's the one that's been writing you every morning. I don't know what's going on here. This is horrible. Live TV, man. What am I supposed to do with that?
You
Somebody's
got to
got
go with it.
floppy
You got to go
breasts
with it.
and they're
No, this
trying to
Chris,
share it on our
this Chris
chat.
Williams guy is writing a bunch of dudes talking about dudes wrestling each other.
Yeah, it's a wrestling podcast. If you're confused, you can always flip over to Kamala.
And then he goes,
I don't understand.
I
What?
bet there's no chicks in here either. First of all, who uses the word chicks anyway?
Wow. Wait, wait,
It's
wait,
like,
wait.
wow,
Shit,
chicks.
wait,
Got any
what?
chicks? He must have been watching Happy Days before. Whoa, hey. Got any
Hey.
chicks there, bro?
Yeah. She's meant.
Actually, Chris Williams' mother's by right. That's why I'm under. Like, you're up, I'm below because she's here. Anyway,
Oh my God.
conclusion.
Yeah.
Tell me what you think about this conclusion, Jimmy.
Okay.
Roman Reigns excels as a locker room leader, though his consistency and discipline and legacy carries within the WWE. His leadership and authoritative, demanding respect, and ensuring that the locker room operates at the highest level of professionalism. Where Cody, on the other hand, embodies a more personal and creative form of leadership. His experience across multiple companies and hands on mentorship style has made him an inspirational leader to many, particularly those who are trying to carve unique careers. In my final conclusion, I ask you to give me the ultimate decision. Ultimately, Roman Reigns can be seen as a stronger leader in terms of maintaining structure in the WWE locker room, while Cody Rhodes brings more innovative, emotional leadership style, especially in a building and supporting talent. Both are highly respected, but it depends on the type of leadership in the locker room needed. Who would
I
you
think
want to lead your locker room?
okay, here's the deal. I don't want to play what ifs. I want to play what is. All right. And what is that you have two great leaders. Okay. They have different styles. Thurman Munson and Derek Jeter could not be more different as people and as captains. What works, works. Roman works, Cody works. So to me, who do I think is top dog if they're both in the locker room at the same time? Roman Reigns. I think that Roman still has the leadership and the seniority and carries himself great. When Cody's the guy in the locker room, if Roman ain't there, which is often, Cody's probably at the top of the chain with Punk. That's what I think. You know, leadership appears in different forms and fashions. We've seen it with our championship teams. Billy Martin was a nut job. Joe Torre was not a nut job. Both were great. It really depends on your approach and what is needed at the given moment. Roman Reigns probably handles things a little harsher than Cody Rhodes. So what? Depends on the situation. I bet you Cody might have tossed Enzo off the bus too. I wouldn't have been surprised if he did. You
That's
know?
fair. Listen, your evaluation is fair, dude. I'm not saying
Yeah,
one is, one
yeah.
is worse than the other. I see Roman Reigns more as a dictatorial leader and
Yeah,
a more Vince McMahon
yeah.
caliber leader. But again, in today's snowflake society, maybe that doesn't fly, right?
Right, right. Well, you saw what happened in AEW when the owner is a mark and the wrestlers are allowed to run everything. You got brawls. They're all beating each other up for real. So, at the end of the day, what is the more structurally sound thing is probably the Roman approach because he's corporate. He's the company guy. He's the next Undertaker in that locker room if there is such a thing. Probably not, but Roman's the head of the food chain. He's the senior guy with the resume to back it. And when he walks in that locker room, I'm sure respect is given. But I don't think he walks in that locker room the way Scott Hall used to walk in the locker room. Who can I fuck with next?
Yeah, well, that shit doesn't fly. All
No.
right, before we go, the top salaries came out. I wanted to go through them with you.
All right.
Uh, Tell me if deserved or not. Rhea
They're
Ripley
all making
six.
too much. Too much. Man.
Rhea Ripley $6 million a year.
Jesus Christ.
Jay
Really?
Uso $7 million a year.
Jeez. All for this. Everybody gets to go like this. What a joke.
Finn Balor $7 million a year.
He's worth every penny, but I don't see how he brings fannies into the seats. Go
I
ahead.
honestly, I'm shocked that Finn Balor is making $7 million
Yeah.
a year.
Well, he's a great wrestler. I guess
But
it's the
again,
workload.
you just
The
said it.
workload.
Finn Balor's not bringing,
He's not.
I
He's
guess at
not.
some point you have to play your role players, right, Jimmy? Just like a football
Well,
team.
you better pay Finn Balor because if Finn Balor is Kevin Owens or Dolph Ziggler or can I go on? You know what I'm getting at. These are
I,
workers. They work.
and you got to have someone lose, right?
Yeah.
Someone's got to be fed.
Yeah.
Kevin Owens $7 million. CM
Again,
Punk.
worth every penny. I'll say that he puts more asses in seats than Finn.
I agree.
Yeah.
CM Punk $8 million.
Underpaid.
Drew McIntyre, $8 million.
Okay, I'll live with that.
Dude, think about that. Think about that.
CM
It
Punk
couldn't
should,
be 4 years ago he was fucking in a firehouse, man.
right. Yeah. No, CM Punk has just helped him get even wealthier. You know what I'm saying? Juice worth that's fine. I can live with that. That's fine.
Seth Rollins, $9 million.
Seth Rollins should be making more. If Drew's going to make 8, Seth should be 11. I think Seth is actually not making enough on this ridiculous pay scale. This
Randy
is
Orton, $10 million.
worth it. He's earned it. He's earned it.
Dude, I think that was keep him away from AEW money.
Right.
I'm
Well, that's
telling you
fine
right now.
too, because I don't want to see him in AEW. You know, I think he's worth holding on to. His legacy is his legacy.
Cody Rhodes, $10 million.
Fair, I guess. You know, I mean, he should be making more than everybody else you listed right now, uh, except outside of maybe Seth. But Cody is a bigger draw than Seth right now. Let's just face facts. So yeah, Cody's got to be at the top of that food chain, pretty
And then
much.
the highest paid wrestler in the history of professional wrestling, the GOAT, Roman Reigns, $15 million.
My God, what would Hulk Hogan be worth today in his
Dude, think
prime?
about this.
Hogan's like 45
On a
million.
limited schedule, man.
Yeah, yeah. Hogan would be worth 45 million to me. Bruno Sammartino in his prime, if he was over and doing what he did
Hey,
for as long as he did.
how
Jesus
awesome
God.
is this? B40
You know?
just wrote that was
Yeah.
the Ronkonkoma firehouse
Yes.
that Drew was pissed off about.
Yes.
B40, were you there? Because we were there, and I was
Yeah.
making fun of the fact that Drew McIntyre was there.
And I was just like shaking my head, like, what is he doing
And
here?
Jimmy, didn't you get a fight with that England guy? Like you went to talk to him, he was being a dick. Who's that guy?
England guy?
The
England
guy.
guy.
Yeah, but God, it was a wrestler from England that was there. Dave something.
I don't remember getting in a fight with him.
No, now he was just a dick. You said he was
Oh,
like,
what?
"Oh, that guy's a dick."
Oh, maybe he was. Actually, no. What happened is that somebody's mommy came to watch them wrestle and got mad when we were booing him. You remember that?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Sweater vest mommy.
No, Sweater Vest wasn't in Ronkonkoma. That was outside. We're talking about the firehouse.
Oh, that was a different horrible independent.
That was
card.
with McIntyre, and I remember you went to go see that guy from England, Dave something.
I think he's like. Oh, I know what you're talking about now. Oh, Jesus, he was on TNA for years. Was it Davey? No, Davey Richards.
Davey Richards. That's right. Yep, that's right.
He was a douche. Yeah, I do remember that because I loved him. I thought he was great. I went over to say hello, and he was like, couldn't be bothered.
You know what's funny? I just realized Gerard wrote Ultimate Warrior 1 million, Hogan 3 million for WrestleMania 6. Here's the thing. These guys probably don't get paid like that anymore. They don't get paid for a pay-per-view. They just get paid their straight salary.
Yeah,
so like before, the WWE would pay you for wrestling WrestleMania 1, and you'd get that kind of money. Now it's like, here's your guaranteed contract. This is what you get paid for.
Right.
Blah, 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 blah. We keep everything.
Well, I'll tell you what,
right?
Hogan in his prime would have made more money than Roman ever could imagine if we prorated to today's money. Andre the Giant would have made more. I'm trying to think of who else. There's probably a kabillion I could think of who would have made more money.
But would you ever think, just a few short years ago, at least 3 years ago, people were hating on Roman. You would never think he was that guy. Another thing that Vince knew, right?
Well, it finally had to be tweaked with his character. He didn't become that guy in everybody's eyes until his character was finally tweaked. I always liked him. I was always a fan of his. I always rooted for him. I watched for 7 years that when his face bookings, and I knew his face bookings were not always the right thing to do. I wanted to turn him way before he was turned. So I went through all of that with all those people.
In the end result, dude, it was in the perfect spot. Like things just worked out. Like that's the one thing I always think. Let me ask you this before we go, because I was thinking this. I wanted to ask you this earlier.
Yeah.
So Monday night I was watching Jets, obviously, but I was going to Raw once in a while, and McIntyre got into an argument with Bad News Barrett.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to Barrett on on the mic along with Michael Cole, I think, and
Well,
no,
they
the
got a
new
new
guy.
they got the new
Yeah, that
guy
new
on
announcer.
right.
But anyway, my point was, I'm like, man, Barrett is good. He
Yeah,
is
he is.
such a good announcer. And
Yeah,
then
he's
I
good.
said, and I said to myself, could me and Jimmy be announcers? I'm like, I don't think I would be that good at it. These guys are so good. Do you think you could be a great announcer?
Color commentary, I would knock it out of the fucking park. Play by play, I would not. I don't think I would be very good at that. Even though I know every hold and I know every. It's not my thing. Color commentary, I would probably be very Heenan inspired, and I think that I would find my niche and I'd be off to the races. That's what I think.
I gotta tell you, sometimes I listen to some of these guys and they're just
Yeah.
so good at it, and it's like,
Yeah.
wow.
Well,
How
I
do you
always.
like how do you like the new guy?
He's fine so far. I'm not hearing anything bad, but I liked when Morrow was doing it those years back until the big meltdown. I don't mind him. He's fine. I still marvel the most at Joey Styles because what Joey Styles was doing back in the day in ECW was announcing everything by himself. And somehow he kept me interested for 3 hours. I don't know how the fuck he did that, but he was able to do everything on his own. Did not have somebody to bounce off often. It was usually just Joey. And that's how great Joey was to be able to do that completely by himself, you know, which is what Gordon didn't always have commentary guys either. Gordon did a lot of stuff on his own, Gordon Soley, plenty of broadcasts. And I was mesmerized.
Gordon was a different style, but Gordon's
Mesmerized.
style would not do well in today's wrestling.
No, not in today's world. You can't have Walter Cronkites. You can't have that anymore. That's too
No.
professional. You can't have it.
In fact, I would say a
You
lot
know?
of these guys would not transition over in today's wrestling at all.
No, I agree. I completely agree. You
All right,
know,
quick thing. Now you're making me go somewhere else. I'm going to name you guys names. Tell me if they would have worked in today's wrestling. Lance Russell.
depends. Is it a smaller territory type
No,
situation?
WWE. Everything WWE.
No, probably not. Even though he was great, probably not.
Gordon Soley.
Maybe if it's done right. Maybe. Yeah. Who's this color commentary guy? Give me somebody from.
Dude, he's not a. I got to disagree with you on that. I
I'm
can't
I'm
see him.
giving it a maybe out of respect to the great Gordon Soley's
I
talent.
know you're struggling with
I'm
it. You don't
saying
want it right.
maybe. It
I gotcha.
depends. Like, who do they partner him up with? If they put him with Corey Graves, does he have a shot there? I mean, who you got to put him with somebody? That's what they do nowadays.
But you can't.
So,
Again, they
you
got to
know what?
play off each
I'm
other.
going to lean towards no. Gordon was too special for his time period. It would probably be like Bruno today. Go ahead.
McMahon and Patterson.
No, wouldn't work
McMahon
today.
and San Martino.
No, wouldn't work today.
McMahon and Ventura.
Possibly.
Possibly. Barely possibly, though. But I agree
Yeah,
with you.
barely possibly. I don't think Vince was. You know what? Vince was. Look, nowadays they describe the action. They call every hold. Vince would say what a maneuver.
Mm.
So you're not. No, Vince is not making it in today's play-by-play. No.
Monsoon and Ventura.
No, it's too cartoony. I mean, at the end of the day, as great as they are, they wouldn't be taken seriously today.
Heenan
Probably.
and Monsoon.
God, they were so great.
They were great.
God, they were so great. You know what? If it's presented right and Gorilla is doing the holes and he's up to snuff on today's shit, and you've got Bobby, yeah,
Dude, I'm going to agree with you on that. I'm going to think that Monsoon and
that was the greatest. That was really.
They could
You know
pull it
what?
off.
Honestly, that was the greatest twosome ever. I mean, we know Ross and Lawler on the back of the baseball card. Ross and Lawler have it on the back of the baseball card. But if I'm picking two guys I want to listen to the most, I want Gorilla and Bobby. I do. Now, who announced just to make it clear, when Flair won that Rumble, who was doing the announcing?
That was Heenan. Heenan was there, and it was Monsoon, I believe.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. That was probably the greatest performance, not just of the Rumble, but the announcing team I've ever heard.
It was incredible.
It was unbelievable.
Does Lawler and Ross work today?
Yeah, I think that could. I think it could, but Ross, of course, Lawler, of course, wouldn't be able to make all the tough jokes.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think it works.
You know, are you taking away a lot of what made Jerry Lawler funny during the Attitude Era?
Yeah, you are.
You know what?
You can't.
Probably not.
Yeah,
probably
I
wouldn't
agree.
work.
I agree with you 100% on that.
Probably wouldn't work.
And the greatest announcers of all time.
The greatest announcers of all
The
time?
greatest. It could be the tandem, or it could be by yourself. Who is the greatest wrestling announcer of all time?
Oh, I got to go with Gordon. But the greatest tandem to me was Gorilla
Still,
and yeah,
still,
Gordon is still
you go solely over
over who?
Monsoon and Heenan.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, wow.
Well, I mean, you're not asking me my personal preference. If you're asking my responsibility, then it's
No, but
Gordon.
there's no responsibility here. As a fan, it's like what you like,
Well,
right?
if who I want to hear the most is Gorilla and Bobby.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, that's not like wrestling. Like, we got to be like historically right. Gordon was a
Right.
great announcer, but who would you want to listen to? And I wouldn't say Gordon solely would be the guy that you would go to. You know what I mean?
Right. And
Personally,
it wouldn't be Ross and Lawler either. It would be Monsoon and Bobby. Yeah, for
I
me.
would go Monsoon and Bobby, and a close second, McMahon, Ventura.
Interesting. Okay. Okay.
Listen, again, we've said it a million times. When it comes to wrestling, Vince McMahon was a great announcer,
He was.
a great booker,
He
a
was.
great promoter,
He
and the
was.
greatest heel
Oh, what a
of
prick.
all time.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, he got it right all across the boards. People hate that, but it's the truth. He
With
was
that,
like Babe
Jimmy,
Ruth. He could hit and pitch.
send us on the way. We want to first say we love you all. Thank you for joining us again on Thursdays. Again, I should be back in studio, and you won't have to deal with my shit ass production within a couple of weeks. And just so you know, up and coming, once I get back in studio, Jimmy and I should be with Vince Russo.
Okay.
It's not necessarily official yet because we got delayed on this studio issue. But for definitely, and me and Jimmy are talking, we're hoping, but it's kind of 50-50 right now.
Okay.
Jimmy might be coming to New York. We're going to have the return of the Tonga Kid, which crushed it a couple of years ago for us, Jimmy.
Yep. Yep.
And then we've got Dan Spivey. A lot to
Oh
talk to
shit.
that. Yeah.
Wow.
And,
Okay.
working on one more guy. So if we could get into New York, that'd be fantastic. If not,
Yeah.
we'll figure out another way.
Yes, sir. You've been watching Monte and the Pharaoh, produced by Michael Monte. Good job there, brother. Until next week, later.
And I forgot the damn button. See ya.
Well, see ya.